Hi, it's me again. I told you the other day I'd have a testimony that I wanted to share with you, but I never got around to it because I just got distracted and got busy. So, my apologies. I'm sorry that I didn't get back to you as soon as I said I would. But yeah, I have a testimony I want to share with you. I'll try to cut it down short because it's a long one. But this testimony is about my little girl. She'll be 30 this month. She's not really a little girl anymore, but to me she is, and she always will be my baby. Just like all three of my kids will be, even though they're all in their 30s now, so they're my babies. But anyway, all right. This happened back in August of 2001. I was home one afternoon, and I had got down to pray like I always had regularly in those days. I got down and prayed, and I prayed in the Spirit so hard and so strong. It was different. It just went on and on and on and on. It was just a flowing and flowing and flowing out of me from deep in my soul, and it just didn't stop. But then after it did let up, this joy started coming out of my soul, and praising and thanking the Lord for something. I don't know what, but I just kept thanking Him and thanking Him and thanking Him over and over and over again. It was just like there was some awesome breakthrough in the Spirit somewhere. And okay, that was like a month before this testimony I'm about to give you. That happened a month before this happened. Okay. Well, it was in August. August of 2001, I was at home with my kids, and Angie, my youngest, she was going to go across the street and get some Mountain Dew at BP station at the time on the corner of Yankee and Oxford State Road. And we had a few little words about what kind of pop to get, and there was a little disagreement on what was going to work because my blood pressure was up and I wanted something caffeine free. She wanted Mountain Dew, and it just, But anyway, she was starting to cross the street. I asked my son if he'd go with her and my daughter, but neither one of them wanted to go. So, she was 12 years old, so okay, fine. There's a lot of traffic out in front of her house, and I thought she knew to look both ways. I mean, she's went across the road a million times, but for some reason this day didn't work out like it should have, and she crossed the road, to go, and I was in the house, and I was sitting there, windows were open, and there was a lot of traffic, and then all of a sudden I heard this big boom. I mean, it's like bam. I mean, it's something hit hard. I thought, oh no, a couple cars have probably wrecked into each other out there somewhere. And I got up, I looked out the window, and I seen a semi in front of the house, and I seen all these other cars just lined up on both sides, not moving. And I thought, oh yeah, there's definitely been a wreck in there somewhere. So, I kept looking, didn't see anything, and I thought, well, yeah, I'm sure Angie made it across, everything's fine. And next thing I know, this lady and her boyfriend or husband or something get out of their car, and they come running over to my door, and the lady's yelling, oh my God, that little girl, she just got hit, that little girl just got hit. Oh my, just remembering that, it just sends goosebumps up my back because, oh dear. I don't know, I just went numb from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. I mean, just total numbness just crawled down my whole body. And in my mind, I said, I know Angie got hit. I know she did. It was Angie. I just knew it, It had to be. And I let these strangers in my house I didn't know, and they were freaking out, And then they decided to go back out. I don't know. So they went back out. And the only thing I knew to do was get on the phone and call, at the time, my pastor, Shy Allen. And I asked her, please pray. Pray Angie's gotten hit by a car. I called Anna Barkalow, who's now with the Lord, and I called my mom, I think. I can't remember. I just know that first thing I knew to do was call on God, to have people call on God for prayer, because I knew what I was getting ready to face wasn't gonna be good at all. I didn't know what was going on. I called down to the place where my ex-husband worked, and I told him to get a hold of him, let him know, I guess. And I don't know what I done. It's just kind of every little detail. I don't know if I'm going to get it just right. But anyway, he found out. I guess he come flying down there. And I went outside, and Angie was laying on the road. She got hit out by the tree, out by the, out in the road, right by in front of the tree. I guess she started to walk out to the road, and there was a semi, and she didn't look both ways. She only looked one way. And then I guess what happened was there was a retired Butler County sheriff turning off Oxford State Road onto Yankee, and he didn't see her coming from beside the semi, and he rammed into her, and it was a van, and she hit the hood, and she hit hard. That was the thud I heard, was my little girl hitting that van's hood with all that force. She was thrown 55 feet up into the air. She was thrown 55 feet over, right beside a great big old boulder rock that was in the parking lot as some decoration. A cop that was in the parking lot that witnessed it said that she looked like a trash bag that was full of trash just being flopped all around in the air. Then she hit the ground. It just seemed lifeless laying there, and the ambulance came, and everybody was around her. My ex-husband was there over there with her, and she wouldn't respond to nobody. I went outside, and I seen her legs beside the ambulance. That's all I could see was her legs on the ground, and I just collapsed on the ground, and I started crying. I said, "Oh, God, please help me. Please help my baby, please." I was so scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. But then this guy come over to me and on the ground, and he said, "I want to let you know, all I can tell you is that she's alive. That's all I can tell you, she's alive." And it helped a little bit, but still, the paramedics wouldn't tell anything. They wouldn't say what was going on. They wouldn't say anything. Just that she was alive, that's all we could get. Well, anyway, when the paramedics got loaded into the ambulance, they drove down to Oneida Elementary School, and care flight came from Miami Valley Hospital. We drove down there to the field there where the helicopter landed, and all I could see was them taking her out of the ambulance and putting her on the helicopter. I couldn't see her or anything. I couldn't see. I didn't even get close to her at all since she got hit. All I seen was her legs on the stretcher and then putting her in the helicopter. Well, we took off in his work van, and we flew to Miami Valley Hospital, and of course the helicopter beat us and everything, and I guess got in there enough time to do tests and all this other stuff. But anyway, we got there to the hospital, and we went in the main entrance, and as soon as we got there, we told them who we were, and they said, "Well, the chaplain wants to talk to you." And right away, that don't sound good at all. And the chaplain right away wants to meet you and talk to you, right away what you think's happened, right? Well, they took us in a room, and the chaplain came in, and then not long after he come in, several doctors and nurses came in, and oh God, no, please. I thought for sure she was dead. And they come in, and we're sitting on the couch, and they say, "Well, we want to let you know that we done a CAT scan, blah, blah, blah. And that we want to let you know that there's been no damage, no bleeding in her brain. There's no swelling where she hit her head and all that. There was no bleeding. There was no swelling of her brain. And they said her vitals were perfect, but that she did suffer global sharing of all the nerves surrounding her brain were all ripped in two from the impact from her hitting the van. It just tore every nerve in around her brain in two." Well, I dropped to my knees in there in that room, and I started thanking the Lord and thanking Him for what He'd done, that her brain wasn't physically injured or anything. But I'm trying to hurry. I know this is long. I know you don't want to sit and listen, but it's an awesome testimony, though. I mean, Okay, she was in a coma. Well, they told me when we went in to see her, it told me to try to keep myself together and not say anything negative or anything bad around her because she could probably hear. She was in a coma. And I went in there, and all I could see was all this stuff hooked up to her. I saw concrete from the road embedded in her face, in her head, her face, all over. This right side of her face was just like a big mess. I mean, it was just terrible gashes and roads stuck in her, and her eye was swollen shut, and it was just a terrible mess to see your child in. It was hard. It was so hard to not say anything or cry, you know. It was just horrible, the stress. The stress was terrible. All because all the stress caused, you know, at the same time my blood pressure was up, and it was just awful. Couldn't eat. Couldn't do anything but just walk around feeling like a zombie in a haze. It was just horrible. Well, she was in Miami Valley Hospital for a week. She wasn't responsive. I mean, she was in a coma 3 days, but she would move around and stuff. I don't know, there's just something not right, you know. But they transferred her to Children's in Cincinnati. She was there a total of a month and a week there. And the youth pastor at our church at Healing Word Assembly of God, he used to come down there and see her every day. He'd come down and check on her. His name was James Ray. Really great guy. He would come and visit her. One day we were gone to go pay the rent and stuff and had to come back to Middletown. And he said he overheard doctors talking, and then they were talking about putting Angie in an institution because they didn't think she was going to ever come out of it, that she was going to be could be a vegetable. Just, there was nothing in her head. There was nothing going on in there, you know, nothing. She just lay there and just stare into space, not say anything or do anything. And I remember one morning I was getting ready. We stayed in the Ronald McDonald House, and I was getting ready to go to see her, and I was getting a shower and all stuff. And I remember I was in there and I was praying, and I was crying. I said, Lord, you know, I don't have to have a sign. I know what you can do, and I don't have to have a sign, Lord, but God, please give me something to go on, because, you know, they were saying she might not ever talk again, nothing. You know what that does to a mother's heart? It just tears it out and rips it into shreds, you know. And she wasn't doing it. She was just laying there, just looking around is all she would do, and not really looking at anything. But I said, Lord, please, I don't need a sign, but God, would you please, this was going to be some little thing to go on, that she's not going to be that way, that she'll be okay, please, just something, any little thing. And later that day, my daughter, Tara, and I and my ex-husband were there in Angie's room around her bed, sitting around her bed, and we called up to my brothers, David and Diane. We called them. Mom was there. She was staying there with them, because I think at the time she'd had a TIA. She had a little mini stroke, and she was staying with them where she could, you know, be with somebody to watch over her. And my son Chuck was there too, because he had to stay up there because I didn't want to leave him alone by himself at home. He was not old enough for that. I wasn't going to do that. So he was only 14. So he stayed up there with Dave and Dinah Mom, and he got on the phone to talk to. We put the phone up to Angie's ear, and he would start talking to her, and I guess he said hello. And at that moment, God answered my prayer. He did, that very moment. Angie said hello. She spoke. She said hello. She spoke. Oh my gosh, we all about went through the ceiling. It was so awesome to see God work that way. That was the first thing she said. Oh dear Jesus, thank you, Lord. It was just amazing. Oh, it was exciting. It was just the funny thing about the brain is that she wouldn't talk unless she was on the phone for a while. I mean, you'd have to call her on the phone. I'd go out in the hall and I'd call her room. They'd put the phone and she would talk then. She would talk. As long as she was on telephone, she would talk. But in the room, she wouldn't say anything. It was just the craziest thing. It's like her brain was making connection with the phone, you know. It was awesome, but God answered my prayer that day. You know, He did. I know my sister and my brother-in-law come up, Karen now, and they come to see Angie at one time, and they just didn't see anything going on upstairs in her brain either. They didn't think something was bad wrong. She just was nothing there. They saw that too, and other people that come to visit and everything. And I remember Pastor Shepard and Donna and his sister Shirley and her husband Jess come up and prayed for her. I'll never forget, I laid my hands on her and they were praying for her. And I felt the most intense heat all over my whole back, up and down my whole body in the back. It was just the most intense heat. I was sweating. It was just so intense. I knew God was doing something. I knew it. I just knew it. But I come to find out that they said that she had, I guess, a blood clot in her lung at the time. That I don't know what the impact or something caused a blood clot to form in her lung. And they said that it instantaneously resolved. It resolved itself, and they said that they hadn't seen anything like that. I don't know if I got that exactly right, but I remember from her medical records that it said that she had an emboli in her lung, and that pulmonary emboli, and it spontaneously was gone. That was one thing, and I guess they said from the impact of her hitting the hood of the van was so hard that should have broke more bones and done more damage in her internally than what she suffered. She suffered a broken pelvis and a broken leg, and the TBI, the global shearing of the nerves, but that's nothing as far as her brain physically, which was a miracle. And she just started coming out of it a little more all the time. The doctor said you have to learn to love another little girl because she's not going to be the same. She'll be a different child because the personality she once had was ripped away when the nerves were sheared around her brain and all that. And that put a pit in my stomach too. But you know what? She was still Angie. She wasn't no different. Yeah, she acted different. She had learning disabilities and she had slow response times, so she could never have a driver's license or anything like that, but she was still my little girl. Yeah, she started being totally the opposite of what she was before the car accident. She was once a straight A, B student, and she turned into not wanting to do anything. She was in special classes. For disabilities, I would get calls every day to come get her. She's causing trouble in school, blah, 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 blah. Things she'd never used to do. But they said eventually she was unteachable in the classroom, and then I'd have to homeschool her or whatever. So then that's just more stuff on that don't even really matter to this. But my point is, she is a miracle. They all said she was a miracle. It's an absolute miracle that she survived it, let alone doing as well as she done. It was eventually like it never even happened. I mean, we went to college in medical assisting, and she went in there with this learning disability, and she passed the college entrance exam. She passed it, accepted into medical assisting. No one can tell me that God didn't protect her and God wasn't there and done something in her. She's an absolute miracle, and I'll tell you, it was so something that the Middletown Journal come and interviewed Angie and I, and we were on the front page of the paper. It made the front page twice of her story, and the story of the miracle that she was. They come and interviewed us over that, and it was awesome. People recognized us from the newspaper. It was something, Aren't you the mom and that girl that got hit by the car? That she got hit by the car and all this and that. I was like, oh yeah, it was something. But yeah, God really done a work in her life, and He protected her. And now I know why that intense prayer come on for me for that month earlier before that happened. And then the thanksgiving and the joy that came out of my soul after that intense prayer that went on for so long that morning was the Spirit had intervened, and He had intervened in Angie's behalf before it ever happened and brought it to a good conclusion. And I was thinking how sometimes we need to sit down and we need to go back and we need to think about what God has done in the past for us and encourage ourselves that no matter what we go through in the future or present future, that God's there and He already knew and He has it taken care of. It's not hard to believe. It's not hard to have faith at all. Just the size of a mustard seed. It pays to be living for the Lord, because, when something happens, you just don't know when it's going to happen. And when it does, and you're prayed up, and you're praying in the Spirit, and the Spirit's praying things that we don't know to pray for, but He's praying them in our behalf for whoever, whatever. It pays, because without that, where would you be? The results could have been a lot worse if I hadn't been living for God, if I hadn't been praying for my little girl, my kids, and my family in the Spirit. Who knows? She might not be here today. But you know what? Satan to this day is fighting her. He's fighting her now because she's got an addiction that's really taken a hold of her, and it's torn her life apart really bad. And I'm worried about her. But you know what? There's been a lot of prayers prayed for her. And I know that God's still got His hand on her, and He's watching over her. And that He will bring her through this, and she will be another mighty testimony, because God's got something great for her. Or she wouldn't be fought like this. I know that God's got a plan for her life, as He does everyone. But I know that He has a special calling in that little girl's life. And that's why Satan's trying so hard to take her out. He tried when she was 12 and he didn't succeed. And he's trying again now that she's 29, even though it's been going on for 6-7 years. But I know that I'm going to keep on praying, and I'm going to keep on believing that God's going to bring her out of this, and she's going to have a mighty testimony someday. And Angie, if you see this, sweetheart, I love you. And I know that you want free of this, and I know that you want to have a happy life. And I know you're sorry for things you've done and the decisions that you've made because of this stupid addiction. And I know it's really been hard on you, in your physical body, in your mind, and in your heart. And you feel like you have no life, and life's not worth living. But Angie, it is, honey. You got to give your life to Jesus. Only He can fix it for you. No one else can. Only He can set you free, Angie. I've told you so many times. Just ask Him to help you. He will. He will. And when you're ready, Angie, He will help you, and He will turn your life around. And it'll be like it never happened, sweetheart. But please listen, please. It's a matter of life and death, sweetheart. And I want you to live, okay? I speak life over you right now, in Jesus' name, that you will live and you will declare the glory of the Lord. And this addiction will not take you down. Satan cannot have my children, and he can't have you, baby. I'm praying for you, and I'm here for you, honey. And I pray someday that your life will totally be turned around for the glory of God. Well, that's my testimony, and it's so much more in depth and so much more detail. You had to be there to see what I'm talking about. But that little girl's a miracle. And if anybody's watching this and ever prayed for her, I thank you. I thank you with everything that's within me. And most of all, I thank you, Lord Jesus, for what you done for my little girl, that you kept her alive, and that you were there, and you were there a month before, intervening for her. I thank you, Holy Spirit. And I don't care if people laugh and make fun of what I believe. I know it's real. I know God's real, and I know I've seen people healed. I've seen the things that God can do. I know what He's done for me over and over again, and there is no one that can tell me any different. Nobody can laugh, think I'm crazy, whatever. But you know what? You might actually be the one that's crazy, because not to believe in God. Someday, you're going to need Him. And if you don't believe in Him, who are you going to turn to? Because He's the only one that can make everything in your life right. All right. I guess that's long enough. I'm pretty sure no one's going to sit and listen to all this. But if you do, I pray it blesses you. Night.